Hi, folks. This is your host Mandeep, and today I'll cover a new technical indicator, and that's called the WD Gann square of 9. Now, a lot of people may or may not have heard of WD Gann, but he was one of the most famous traders back in his time, in the 1920s, 30s, where he produced just like humongous winning trades, and I believe his win ratio was close to 92%. A lot of his work is actually documented. As Gann square of 9, Gann square of 12, and he ends up using a lot of geometry and angles, and and based on that he builds these support and resistance. And so if you go to this site called stockmaniacs.net, one of the things you will see is this Gann of square calculator, and this is predominantly used for day trading. It can square of 9 can also be used to draw support and resistance lines as well, right? So in his case, the 360 degree translates into like this number 1, right? So if you are at 45 degree, then you would divide 45 degree by 180 to get 0.25, right? So let's say the highest point, the last 1 year of a stock was 80. You take the square root of that, and if you're doing 90 degrees, you would then subtract zero point 0.5, which is 90 by 180. And then you again square that, and that'll actually give you the next resistance point. So the key points of interest tend to be, when it is at 90 degree or 360 degree or 720 degrees, etc. So the intent of this video is not to go into the details of WD Gann sort of principles. For that, you can watch some videos on YouTube and learn a little bit about it. What this video is going to show is what the actual net outcome is, and what how does it produce support and resistance lines, and how do you end up using it for intraday trading. So again, this is a free version of the calculator. All you have to do is, you put in whatever the opening price is, right? And people have varying opinions on this. Some people say whatever the opening price is, you can put it in. Other people's, sometimes end up using the first 15 minutes to let the market settle down, and whatever the price is at that point in time, that's what they input. But here's a simple example. Yeah, let's say the stock was trading at 50, and you input the number and hit calculate, and it gives you this number, like buy above 50.76, and it gives you these targets. And if it is sell below, which means you take a short position, then you have these targets defined. Also gives you these resistance and support points as well on the calculator. Now, what I have done is taken sort of this complex math and turned it into a code on the ThinkorSwim platform. So, in order to look at this, we look at the Gann square of 9 study, and add this, apply, and hit OK. One of the things we can do is we can adjust so that these targets show up a little bit closer on the line if you're using a shorter time frame. So here's the principle behind it, right? So let's assume that we took 176.46 as the opening price. So 167.46, and you hit calculate, and the buy above is at 169. So the buy above is 169, so it's 159.40 in my case, which is close enough. So this is your buy above line. So you're going to buy above this line and then use the next 3 lines as targets. Oftentimes it'll not go to the third target, and I don't even display the fourth and the fifth because it usually doesn't take out that many targets. So in this case, if you took the trade at 159.40, once it hit that level, from there, you could have taken partial profits at target 1, and then, some more profits at target 2, right? So this is how the Gann square of 9 ends up working. And if it was a short signal, then you would take a short below this level, and you would target 153 and then 150 as your sort of second short target. Now, clearly there would be situations when the price remains between buy above and the sell below range, and in that case, you take absolutely no action. So one of the ways, once I wrote the code, I figured we could run a scan and just figure out stocks that are actually, breaking above. So one of the things I did was I looked at stocks which had an average true range of greater than 2, average volume of greater than 500,000. And I also looked at stocks that have a closing, which closed above the 30-minute opening range breakout. And finally, stocks that are closing um, uh, over the buy on the Gann square of 9 code that we have, right? So it leaves like a few set of stocks and to focus on now. So when we go back, we can, focus some of these stocks here, or we can just select uh, hold on. So we go back into scan and we save scan query. Let's give it another name. And now what we've done is we've actually ended up creating a dynamic list, right? So this list, once created, doesn't have to be adjusted each day, and it will, uh, populate the list with a set of stocks where the buy above has been exceeded. So sometimes it's scans a little bit slow in running, and once it pops up, we should be able to look at some of the stocks, right? So this was one example. Hopefully, it pops up in a few seconds. We had COUP. That was another stock that actually showed up on the list. Since it's not running for some reason, the scan, let me go back and look at the edit again and see if we messed up something. So ATR is greater, average true volume is greater than 500,000, and orb is greater as well. The close is greater than the orb, and close is greater than buy above. So let's just save this again and wait a couple more seconds to see if it ends up populating. Sometimes the scan doesn't. So the other lists are showing up fine. And let's just go back here, and if we run the scan here, it doesn't seem to have any issue. So anyway, we'll just save this scan for now and call it Gann S save, and then we'll select it here now. Okay. So now then we can at least look at what the stocks are doing. So let's look at Workday as another example, right? So similar kind of setup, right? The stock opened, and once it took out the buy above, you could go long on this, and it basically hit target one and kind of meandered around that for the rest of the day. But either way, if you've taken this, it went from 182 to at least about 185, which isn't bad profit, especially if you're doing intraday trading. Let's look at Weave now, and once it paints, we'll be able to see this as well. Similar concept, right? So once the buy above is hit, and you then see if it hits your target T1. Not It's not going to hit it each every time, right? Just because it takes it out, it could also close, or it could even break this back into this lower range. And one of the things you can do is you can use this as your stop loss as well. So once it's moved up a little bit, you can use this level as a stop loss. Let's take a look at NOW, which we know also was doing well. Most of the cloud companies did very well over the last couple of days. So now in this case, let's take a look. This is a good example where so the buy above never got truly taken out, right? So it really, a full bar really didn't cross above, and so this is one example where you would sort of not take any action on it. Let's look at Okta now. And this was a similar example as well, where it didn't take out. One of the things I don't worry about is sort of these getting taken out in the last half hour, 1 hour, especially if I'm doing intraday trading. Then there's not enough runway left in the last hour for the stock to move up significantly. They could in some cases, but I would just prefer avoiding these situations. So in this case also, you got no trade. So that's just another way of trading. And those of you who actually either follow the Gann style of trading or his principles of trading might find this useful. I'll make this available on my website if you guys want to download. It's not going to be free because it took me quite a bit of research to actually, turn this from information that I found on the web into an actual code. But what I will, if people are interested, I will, provide them at some reasonable cost, the code plus, a list of and some instructions of how to create the scan if they want to use this as a trading strategy. That's all I wanted to cover, folks, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.